Hello, welcome back to the channel. So today I wanted to make my case for the Harrier as a mini strike plane for the blue team. Now the Harriers, in my opinion, its strength is not being on station for very long, like carrying T-pods, carrying an infinite amount of bombs and missiles. You know, that's the A-10's thing, in my opinion. I think the Harrier is very good at getting up in the air really quickly, getting to target fairly quickly, and just knocking out maybe 2, 3, 4 key targets and then bugging out. And that's where I think the Harrier's strength lies. Now I'm going to be talking about the Harrier in a PvP setting, and more specifically 80s PvP. This is not Enigmas where you actually stand a chance against the fighter that wants to end you. The missile really does know where it is this time around, and where that is 3 feet away from your face, about to send you to Jesus. Prolonged CAS can only really be achieved if your team has air superiority. And when you're fighting against the red team that has flankers and Mirage 2000s, your team rarely ever has air superiority. And this is where not being on station for very long and taking out just a couple of key targets comes into its own, and why I think the Harrier is going to be the best at this. Now, to explain a bit more what I'm going on about, I'm going to be going over my loadouts with the Harrier. Now, usually in a fairly active server, there'll be one of two choices that I take. I'll be taking this one, which just has high explosive rounds in the gun, 2 sidewinders, 2 sidearms, mini anti-radiation sidewinders, which are really easy to use, and 2 Mavericks. And my other one will just be getting rid of the sidearms and having 4 Mavericks. This is not much time on station at all. You're in and out pretty darn quickly. And if you select the correct targets like a Tor, SA-8, Shilka, Strela, a couple of key targets that, are actually useful to kill. And then that's it, really. If you have the luxury of being on station a bit more, maybe find a couple of little trucks, light armor to kill with your gun. And that's it. Then you bug out, get home quick, and then do it all again. Meanwhile, your wingman in the A10, he's still making his way towards target. The flanker knew you were there, so he's now coming to where you were, and the A10 just got absolutely demolished by about 6 flankers in about 3 seconds. So now you might be thinking, well, Joe, what happens if the flanker comes for me when I'm in the Harrier? Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You are fucked. Plain and simple. Your best defense is not even being there at all. So that's why just not being there for very long is better than being there for fucking 20 minutes marking targets with your T-pod. Oh, but I've shot down 100 flankers in my Harrier. Really? So you've got to always assume worst case scenario if you want to live. Say you was in the flanker and you was in the Harrier. You were fighting yourself. 9 times out of 10 the flanker is going to win. It's just how it is. It's an air superiority fighter versus a ground attack plane. There are a few steps you can take to help yourself out if the air-to-air encounter with a fighter is unavoidable. You want to position yourself always below the fighter. That way, when you fire a 9M at him, which is a reduced smoke / smokeless missile, it's much harder to see them against the ground. So if they don't know what they're doing, if they don't start pre-flaring when your nose hot on them, there's a very big chance that they're just going to die. So I'm going to use this brief encounter with a Fulcrum as an example. He's off my left wing. He knows where I am because he just locked me with his radar. And I really want to be turning in soon. Reason being, because his missile has very good flare resistance. I want to be nose hot. And there it comes. So I'm basically nose hot right now, so I should be able to flare this off fairly easily. Dropping the throttle. Bring the nose around. Get the 9M off. And because he wasn't pre-flaring, he's going to eat that. So he probably didn't see that because we were both really low to the ground. To sum it up, you basically capitalise on their mistakes, and that's going to be most of your kills in the Harrier, sneaking around low down, using terrain where available, and just hitting them with missiles they can't see. And that's pretty much what happened to this Mirage. I used terrain to hide, then I found him before he found me. If this Mirage played this any differently, if he was a little bit higher up, so he could see me with his radar and semi-defensive with Fox 1 missiles, this encounter would have ended differently for sure. So you've got three main ways to find targets in the Harrier. First is with your eyeballs, obviously. Second, you have the FLIR sensor in the nose, which will display little chevrons in your HUD when it detects heat signatures. And then if you want to have a closer look at those heat signatures, you can use the DMT, the dual mode tracker, which is basically a little camera in the nose. Now this camera is fairly smart, as say if you're too close to fire when you've scouted the target out with the DMT, you can then turn around, it will turn itself off, and then when you come back around nose hot on the target, it will turn itself back on again, so that target is basically saved. You can also do another thing with the Harrier. Say you have a flanker hot, he's coming at you supersonic about 30 miles away. You've already got your nose on the target, but you don't want to jettison your stuff and run away. How can you do as much damage in the shortest amount of time possible? Now, you can select, when you select your Mavericks, you can set the quantity to however many Mavericks you have on your jet. Say, in this example, we're going to have 4 Mavericks on the jet. Set the quantity to 4. Once you fire your first Maverick, your second Maverick will already be looking at where you previously shot your last one. So it's a simple case of slew it over to another random target, hit that, and then rinse and repeat 4 times, and then you can bug out. Even if your Maverick hits something as insignificant as a fucking Toyota Hilux, it's still kind of worth it, because you get to live, because now you can retreat away from that flanker that's about to destroy you. If you've ever flown the A-10C, it's kind of similar to that system, where your fresh Maverick is looking where you last shot your previous one, basically. Now, while I have been bashing and talking against bringing T-pods and doing mark points and stuff like that, the option is still there for you to do that. You just won't be able to kill as many units and stay on station as long as, say, an A-10. But if you still want to spawn on the front line with a T-pod, be up in the air quicker and get to target quicker than the A-10, you still have that option. And you've got quite a plethora of laser guided weapons on the Harrier. You've got the laser Mavericks, the AKPW, whatever the fuck it is, precision kill laser rockets, and you've got all the laser guided bombs on it as well. You can also create mark points with the DMT. It doesn't necessarily have to be with the targeting pod. I do like to bring the T-pod with laser guided rockets when the stack of both teams is on your team's favour, or there's just not a lot of people on the server itself. There is 7 of them in a pod, and the weight that it takes up is less than the equivalent laser guided bomb or Maverick. So in my opinion, they're a no-brainer if you want to use a laser guided weapon. So that's basically all I wanted to say about the Harrier. I think it's a very good little strike plane, kind of just like a little mini strike plane that kind of goes forward, finds a couple of key targets, eliminates them, and then bugs off home. It just makes air to ground really simple, and that's why I really enjoy it. Thank you for watching.